आपका नंबर है आपके पास
Yes, sir.
आपका कार्ड भी मेरा जरूर फ्लावर में भी यूर फ्रेंड डेवलपमेंट
Sir, I think आपके साथ यूके में मिले थे एक ही तरह
हाँ।
वीके पटेल के साथ.
ओह यस
We had come first time when we introduced Autodisc in 2007 8. And then आप वहाँ यूके में आए थे सर.
UK I visited UK एक प्रोग्राम
So from there now we have moved to very big level in terms of automating digital transformation.
Actually, this whole program was started by us.
अच्छा.
One is the hub. Hub was in social, yeah, ICC back then, Body Planning Commission. NC section.
हाँ हाँ हाँ.
I was urban expert, and we had done a study of Indian land government review.
हाँ हाँ.
NC section was expert of forest and rural land. I was expert of urban land. And Hub was expert of social. And of course, he is now quite older. NC section is Bhagunati. And one also we have a legal framework, एक judge था, Bangalore High Court. He was guiding us for legal framework. Legal framework. हाँ. Yes, Professor. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we get him run the who does it? Yes. Civil, probably civil. हाँ. मैं यही आपके कब तक हैं यहाँ पे? तो कल भी हैं? तो हम कभी ऑफिस पे भी गए यहाँ पे जबकि ये एक्चुअली मेरा 12:30.
Recording शुरू है? Yes, yes. Okay, great. It's live. Okay.
Yes, please.
People come.
10:45 के लिए वही सब
चलिए
Yes, update is. Good morning. Good morning to all of you. It's really a great pleasure to be in this conference. Last year I was in this conference and there's so many new ideas, practices and programs that have been discussed. And I'm sure this edition also will bring in a lot of new insights and directions on this very important topic. We have with us a very eminent panel. Dr. I.P. Gautam is here. who is currently the chairman of Sabarmati Riverfront Corporation Limited, Professor Shivanand Swami, who is emeritus professor as well as director of the transport unit at SEPT University. Mr. N.K. Patel, a very eminent urban planner, who had been the chairman of the ITPI till very recently. He is also an eminent builder and a trained planner as well. And Mr. Dagai, who needs no introduction to our group. We have taken for this session land footprinting and efficient land use planning towards Viksit Bharat. There are very brief outline I'll give, and my eminent panelists are there to discuss the details of it. It was with great difficulty we could find the land efficiency parameters. While we could see the agricultural efficiency, we could estimate the industrial efficiency, but the land efficiency per se had been fraught with a lot of difficulties. So therefore we thought it is important that we try and find out. If you loosely try and see what the determinants are, you would see that the rising population and the development needs, to what extent these get apportioned. And then you have certain phenomenal sort of thing that takes place like urbanization. There is nothing like ruralization but urbanization. And then you have this calamitous, which so far we thought it is external, but then you will see there are certain parameters which are internal to the system itself. And therefore, the optimization, equitable allocation, all that has been the buzzwords, but how far these have been done has been one of the concerns that we had. So what does footprinting then mean? We can surely try and find out what the direct footprinting across sectors are. We can quantify how much has been in industry, how much has been in agriculture, and so on. But what are the indirect uses? The indirect uses and the indirect land use across sectors have been phenomenal. For example, some cars that have been manufactured somewhere else is being used somewhere in another place. So the land footprinting will be counted where? Is it in Tamil Nadu or it's in Gujarat where it is being used? And therefore, if we want to do an effective land footprinting, I think we need to have a good inventory of data, which will include the consumption patterns of land. There are tools available, of course, we know it, but then those will not identify the pressure points or the sustainability limits. Not the sustainability per se, but the limits of sustainability. So what are the challenges that we have? On top of it, if you juxtapose this, you have these fragmentation, all these things we know, and therefore I don't need to go into this in greater details, but the only thing is we don't have a system where we find out what the degradation in areas have been. Like for example, the coastal erosion that's happening day in and day out. The land that we have been using so far, but no longer available. And therefore, we think we can use the land use pattern map, but those maps are not static. They are dynamic in nature. So how frequently you need to do it, how efficiently we map it, and how periodically we'll have to do it are other challenges that we have. So the agriculture, for example, if you take, there is a great scope for us to reduce the extent to which the land is available with agriculture right now. Because of mechanization, because of productivity improvements, it is quite possible that we'll be able to produce what we are producing now at much lesser quantity in coming days. Are we thinking about it? And therefore, like precision agriculture and so on, it's quite possible. And the urban and regional land use planning, we know, in the industrial front, for example, if we take, much like agriculture, one pattern that has been observed is how much land has been allocated or has been bought or is being owned by an industry and how much is actually used. So where the difference goes. So are there land parcels that are lying underutilized, unutilized? So therefore the efficiency parameters when you test, they take a huge beating. And therefore if you want to have an efficient industrial parks or logistic hubs, and if we integrate it with transport and other development utilities, probably it would be much, much better. One good example is when we have this rooftop solar system in Gujarat. it doesn't really use new lands. On the existing lands, we are trying to use it. The same thing is happening with agriculture and solar parks. So we call it Nanan as two crops. One is a solar crop, the other one is food crop. And therefore, it is possible that you can camouflage the way in which we use the land for one or more uses. How far are we in those technological fronts? And what are the pathways towards the Viksit Bharat? The governance aspect comes first, and then the technology and data systems, what we are talking about, and the equity and inclusive development. I'll stop here, but what I have requested, and my panel is more eminent on this, on many of these aspects, I would request Dr. I.B. Gautam to kindly give his lecture.
Morning. Actually, till 2013, of course, I worked in urban. By 2013, I worked in urban for more than 10 years. Almost 9 years as a municipal commissioner. I was municipal commissioner Ahmedabad 91 to 94. And then Ahmedabad, this Rajkot 91 to 94 and Ahmedabad 2006 to 11. Apart from this, Principal Secretary Urban Development and Urban Housing of 2 years. So this in 2013, I think that the founder member of this was Dr. Huck. We wanted to study land governance in India, financed by World Bank. That they are searching the urban land expert. So somehow they approached me, and we had a panel, eminent panel at the time, Mr. Huck, Dr. Huck, Dr. N.C. Saxena. He was Chief Secretary of UP, and then at that time just retired from Planning Commission. And Rita Baguna, Rita Sinha. She retired from Secretary in government. And this Sinha, she was expert of line records, and Mr. N.C. Saxena was expert of forest and rural land. I was the urban man. And we studied whole 5 segments of this country. You know, historically, land governance was very complex. But one chunk was Bihar, Bengal, Odisha, where one kind of rules, regulations are on. And Karnataka, Andhra, and Tamil Nadu. And then we have taken the northern states. We have studied 7-8 states, and that land governance in India, the document was created. But somehow it's owned by this World Bank. Dr. Huck has started, and from that, this particular issue was flagged, and still the efficient land use planning. But it's a multiplicity of authorities in government. I'm retired. I'm sitting here nearby. Not many old people. They approach me all the time. If they have some land problem, I'm not getting the job. Because one city there are half a dozen lands laws are applicable. There is no clarity. Even where a town planning, this city is completely planned. In Ahmedabad, town planning was started 1925. And when Sardar Patel Sahab was mayor, the first town planning was approved by Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation. Almost every inch of this land are planned under Town Planning Act. But still, there are 3 major enactments. They are governing the rights and transactions and all. One, that land, BLRC, Bombay Land Revenue Board. Another, the Town Planning Act 76, final plots. And in same area, city survey. So there are city survey records, there are revenue records, and there are town planning records. And then after many transactions, this registration. So these 4 or 5 laws are created such a mess that in 10 lakhs population of a town or 20 lakhs population, you have more than 2% consultant, those who are surviving only on the land consultancy. How to get the record, how to get verified, how to get registered, how to get transferred, if multiple transfers, then what to do. So these issues are yet to be flagged and handled by. Therefore, when we discuss this issue many times, one of the, in Bangalore, one municipal commissioner, in 2013, Subramanian, he initiated something in Bangalore that there should be a repository and all records should be available on that system. But it was not, government has not agreed for any enactment of that point. And none of the government states, basically land is in government hand. But the code of rights are in different manner in different states. So this planning as such, in Gujarat, Maharashtra, I found that especially in Gujarat where we are doing this seminar, here town planning act is implemented very effectively. Many of the states like Odisha and few states are following this on experimental basis. This is one of the very efficient act where you can get public land without land acquisition. You are taking a adjoining area of agricultural land, and average 35 to 40% is taken by government or rural development authorities for public purpose. And rest of the land is given to them as a final plot with roads network, with the all public utilities like fire brigade, police station, school, crematorium, burial ground, everything. It's 40 or average 35% reduction is done, maximum 40%. But land value is without town planning, using without town planning act, if the land is 5,000 per square meter. If you are implementing town planning scheme, the owner will get only 60%, but the price will go 5 to 10 times because he is getting road access, he is getting all public utility, and in general 15 to 20% area which government or urban local bodies cut from this chunk used for roads and for garden and many other things. This is very efficient system. Now many states are adopting. However, still in many states they have started chakbandi, consolidation, but half of the way they have not completed most of the documentation. And many states this documentation on after consolidation is a issue because they are also using old records and they are also using parallel this new record created. And if it is not promulgated periodically, then there are multiplicity of the. If today judiciary is most criticized that they can't or they are not dealing the cases, but it's all because our land laws are so complex. The ultimate, you have to search a judge, either serving or retired, to sit. And that's why none of the judges are free till age of 80. Few are working even after it. Because we have created such a big mess in land record system in this country. Because we have followed, in general, most of the land revenue codes in country. Barring few Jamindari Ulan and this Bombay Tenancy Act and few land reform process acts. Most of the land rights acts are created by Britishers. They have their own target, how and why they have created. But we could not simplify our acts, and that has created a mess in especially cities, where you get a final plot, then you have a survey number, then you have a city survey number, and all are mismatching. And then finally one has to go for 10 years in revenue courts, and then indefinite years in judicial courts. And all are having their power. In the revenue court, I have to go to lowest level, then middle level, then highest level. After that, again appeal to civil court. And this creates a lot of mess. One thing I wanted to flag the policy makers, those who are making policy or those who are administrating, that in every state we need to simplify the land ownership and the process for the transactions. At least there are not many online records are available now, most of the states. But still, unless you are promulgating, unless you are authorizing a person that, okay, this is your final record of right, then this whole area has been handed over to dozens and then hundreds and thousands and bigger city lakhs of consultants. Many very small issues are without hiring somebody, even a retired person from the commission, they can't resolve their own issue offline. We have created this mess, and through this churning of this process, if we try to resolve this and simplify the issue, this will be great help to community, great help to people, those who are in towns. We are trying that in Gujarat, this final plot should be the final. But still, judicial system don't accept. They will say, no, you go back to city survey, and there will be mismatch in city survey records and town planning records. And this create problem. Then this also create problem for the poor people or lower middle class. Because since they can't resolve this issue, then the third man will come and say, okay, this cost of our house or cost of this plot is, market value is 20 lakh, but these issues are unresolved. I will pay you 10 lakhs. You give it to me, I will resolve. So most of the people, those who are in developing, known as developers, they look for these kind of things. If some dispute is there, you buy on 40-50% discount and then resolve it after the expenditure of 10-15%, and then make good and sell it for the. Let's say it's a good business. I'm not saying that it's a wrong business, but we have created, the system has created this, and this has to be simplified. That's my submission. Rest, because these planner, town plan experts, Swami sir has developed this, designed this BRTS in Ahmedabad. Almost 120 kilometers BRTS is being run. In Ahmedabad, when we made the development plan of 2014, this 200 meter either side of BRTS, 120 kilometer, and the metro almost 80 kilometer, 70-80 kilometer. We have given that 200 both the sides. They have this height restrictions were withdrawn, and they can use for any purpose, for commercial, mixed residential. So that clarity was given, and that has taken a PUD in slightly faster manner. There are many initiatives taken by Ahmedabad Urban Development Authority, Urban Development Department of Gujarat to simplify the approval process of building plan and agriculture and non-agriculture and new tenure and old tenure. The state government has taken a very one of the commendable steps that this new tenure and old tenure they are simplifying after many years, after 6 decades. This step because it's happened, why government has done? Because this kind of seminar, these issues are flagged up and flagged. Things were demanded, then slowly the experts also given their positive opinion that it's possible to do within the frame, and this was done. So that can ease the housing issues, the price rise in that sector, and especially the poor and middle class can get their affordable house. If you are, because you know every developer in this country charge 10 extra percentage to resolve this complex issue. If the house is cost 20 lakhs, he will ask the 3 or 4 lakhs more to all this, to resolve this problem. If we are resolving this problem, probably we can give urban poor and affordable housing slightly reasonable price. Thank you.
Are there any questions you take away?
Yes.
Meanwhile, we'll start. Particularly land footprint. It relates with number of the subjects. And basically, as Dr. Patwa has said, a car is produced at Chennai and utilized at Ahmedabad. So how the land footprint should be calculated? But it is not that simple. So first we will go to the definition. So we know is a total sub-area occupied, particularly a building, infrastructure. Infrastructure means either a railway line, road, all will come under that. Then waste treatment and the impact of such environmental effect. Okay, suppose a sewage treatment plant has been done something 50 kilometers from the main city, even though their discharge also will be considered as a land footprint. In particular, when we talk about the footprint, so that at present, when we talk about a sustainable development, we talk about number of the ecosystems, biodiversity, and other things. So, material footprint, emission footprint, human footprint, waste footprint. So, all these footprint are also attached with the land footprint. So, this is the simple definition. It is land assessment exercise. I'm sorry to say it's still in that fashion, which is to be done, has not been taken in our country. So now, when we talk about SD2 is the hunger, you have to mitigate with the hunger. Then SD13, which talk about climate change. Then SD15, which talk about biodiversity. So all these things, how it correlates and finally affects the land footprint. So first agriculture. If we talk about agriculture, we need the intensification of agriculture. I don't mean since last 40 years, number of the technological and other things has been done. The crop yield has been increased. But on one hand, the demographic population increase. And our goal, SD goal says that it's zero hunger. So agriculture intensification is required. Second is urban land use. If you go to any Indian city, right, the sprawl. There is no efficient planned urban development all across the Indian city. If you talk about the density of a city, it is very low. If you talk about positive area to be utilized, particularly I can say that in developed country like New York or Singapore or London, the road percentage is overall the area, something 35-40%. In our case, it's a 15%. But in those cases of London or Singapore, the residual area, which is non-utilized area, is hardly 7 to 8%. While in our cases, due to the margins and some setbacks and other things, we have more than in Ahmedabad, something 35 to 40% is a area which is not utilized. So that is urban land use, energy production. Professor Pakwa has said about how the agriculture and about that the solar, how the two crops can be taken. But now it is a time at few locations, if we talk about a global, then nuclear energy is also one of the option to reduce the our land factors. Then, as we know, rapid urbanization, when you talk about zero hunger, and one land which is good for a paddy cultivation, but we don't have such regularization or monitoring by the government, they are putting the tomato, right? So in that case, the agriculture activity also has to be seen in another angle. So if we talk about now resource regarding the agriculture, now land use planning practices. So as we know, it is a very unique, finite. We cannot produce, we cannot reclaim the land, and in that case, right? Land is a very fundamental component for survival of human. So in that case, when the population is growing, when I talk about my country, India, so in that case, just you divide the total square meter of India by a population of 140 million. Similarly, do for USA, similarly do for China. Each Indian citizen is getting less than 1 acre land. It includes the Himalayas, it includes all forests and other things. But if you go to China, which is roughly the same population, I will say, but per citizen they had more than 1 hectare. So something more than 2 times of our land position. If you go back to USA, it's something 2.5 or 3 hectare land per US citizen. So in that case, so population on a globe begins to increase from 18th century. So from that day, each land has been tagged with some use. So land use planning has been started in the 18th century, and if we see long back before the pre-medieval era, so when humans started in 1000 BC, constructing one cave and utilizing for their purpose, or putting some small pond and doing some fisheries among them. So from that day, land is the very fundamental things that has to be exploited in the past. So how we have to go ahead? So these are the various practices, but in last years, some 20% decrease in Earth's crop. And how we have to stop the more decrease in cropland. Similarly, if you go for a land use practices, so finally in 1930, first time, the land use has been introduced in US, not for urban area. It was implemented for rural area planning. So from that day, for public welfare, environmental protection, security, conservation, resource, heritage, this system was started. Then agriculture. So here the bottom line, SDG 2 we talk about, I already spoke that it is talk about hunger. So now on one side a population, on another side economic growth, and in that case more R&D, more investment, particularly in agriculture sector, is also required to restrict our footprint of the land. So this is the same. So in Indian city, if you go, in 30 years, the urban expansion of these cities, we have taken 8 cities. That is Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Calcutta, Hyderabad, Pune and Ahmedabad. These 8 cities, what was the cover of the winter? It was 2,136 square kilometers. Now that was a 95 days. And in 2025, so in the gap of 30 years, you can see the 4308. So something double expansion of built-up area has been done. So if we see the global scene, the global warming, so urban population and urbanization. So 70% global warming comes through the urban areas. And 80% of loss of natural habitat is also due to this urbanization process. And as we know that, if we talk about GDP, to 70%, cities are the growth engine, they are the economic driver. They are giving you 70% GDP. The remaining 30% are from the rural area. So in that case, you cannot neglect. They are the job centers, and that's why how to trade off, how to do a balance in particularly in Indian case. So LCC is again the same land cover change. So as I told you, there is a significant reduction, particularly in a crop area, forest area, ravines, mangrove area. Now I will talk about zoning. So we are going to talk about zoning right now. Why? As Gautam sir has told, we have more than 80 running kilometers of BRTs. And in 2014, on both the side of BRT's tracks, a 200-meter street has been given with a higher FSI and some relaxation in height, relaxation in some markets. So walk to work culture, a mixed development. These are, if you go to the Mohua side, these are the mantra right now, particularly, and that mantra affects the land. So increase the density, reduce the land footprint, create some smaller open spaces, create safe neighborhood for the kids, safe neighborhood for the citizens. And it can be done not by giving a yellow, green or orange. And in that case, I will add like that. Suppose if you go to Vatva or a Naroda industrial estate. Naroda industrial estate has been established in 1962-63. Till you will find a unit is having is in production, in operation, but they are occupying only 1/3. The 2/3 land is available. In earlier, Gujarat has imposed vacant land tax. Right? Urban land ceiling was one of the act elected in 1976 for equitable distribution of urban land, but it was a failure. This is not a platform to discuss much about the UNCF, but we don't have that governing or monitoring system of restricting the access holding. So it may be as a future expansion, but at back of the mind, it is always a speculation. And land is a very speculative holding. And how to reduce that speculative holding? But now it is not an era of lessons learned. So we cannot impose a vacant land tax or these or that. So how we can do? So in one of the theses where I was a guide at Research University, a TPSK, which is a successful micro land management model in Gujarat, which was started by Sir S.A. in 1925. So 100 years has been completed. But what happened? The posh area of Ahmedabad, those who are local must be aware of Sindhu Bhavan. So Sindhu Bhavan Road, where infrastructure has been laid by the authority, public authority, either AUDA or AIMS. There is a drainage system, there is a gardens, all has been done. Now few big farmers are still holding the land. They are not supplying the land to the housing market. And due to that, there is an artificial rise in the land prices. That is one thing. And second thing, you have been forced that MIT people, for an affordable IC, you are forcing them to go something 5-10 kilometers westward or eastward, like in Shela or in Puma or in other areas. So what to do about how to? So when we talk about a land footprinting, the land speculation curbing is also one of the things. And in that case, I was suggesting when DB scheme is finalized, for the first 5 years you are giving a 3 FSI. After 5 years you reduce to 2. As the FSI has a direct relation with the market price of land, right? So when it is a 3, Then after 5 years they know that now it is going to be reduced by 2. And after 10 years it will be 1. So such planning solution is very much required. So these are the trade-off between 3 SDG, 13, 15 and 2. SDG 2 says for hunger there should be enough food and enough agriculture output. 13 says the climate mitigation, protect the blue area, protect the green area, and similarly the biodiversity. So land footprint analysis is not done in India, and in that case, land ownership. So in earlier session, it was a nice session where the land ownership, land being as per the constitution, a right, constitutional right. So government has also some restriction. They cannot now do in a land acquisition 2013 Act. They cannot acquire also without public purpose, and there are the number of complexities. So there should be a threshold analysis. Suppose in residential area, in a city like Mumbai, what should be the minimum size? What should be the FSI? Per person there was a land utilization was 100 square feet. But that was the case of 2005 or 10. I don't know the year.